Hey everybody, it's Angie, and today at queenbeing.com, I'm going to answer a reader question about working with a narcissist. Okay, I've actually had several readers ask me this question, so I'm just going to go ahead and answer it today. So let's get started. So here we go. This one is from Anti-Zionism Movement, and they ask, and I'm sorry for saying they. I'm not entirely sure if we're dealing with a male or female in this case, so that's all. Anyway, but it is a really great. This person is a great commenter. I've seen them around my channel a lot, and I sincerely appreciate their support, and that is why. I'll answer all of your questions, but I do always appreciate comments and support, so thank you for that. All right. Anyway, so the person says, "You know narcissism. I would love to hear your thoughts on working for a narcissist. I am working for a covert narcissist. Luckily, I am contracted, so there is limited contact. I've been through the idealization phase and I've attempted to break my boundaries. Now I'm in discard. Silent gray rock as much as possible. I also keep a record out of interest. Smart. Um, I also keep a record. So basically, this person's saying, I'm doing all the things I need to do, and I am keeping proof of that for myself, which is very smart anytime you're dealing with a narcissistic boss, okay? Um, Tick all the boxes. But then this person says, but I knew from day one what I was dealing with. The way I felt energetically told me everything I needed to know. I like to work, but I don't give an F about whether or not I'm sacked, as I have options. Um, am I in a good position or a dangerous one working for a narcissist? Okay. First of all, thank you for the permission to read this for a video, and thank you again for your support. I really appreciate it. I love having coffee with you in the morning. All right. Anyway, so here we go. I have a lot of thoughts on this. Okay. Um, are you in a dangerous position or a good one? Here's how I feel about it. I think you are potentially in a dangerous position unless you have got the narcissist on your side already, in which case you're fine, as long as you keep them there. If you are in a position where since you're not concerned about what you'll do if you are fired, if you're enjoying the job, I would just stick around, um, and I would just be yourself. But I'm going to give you some tips about how we can actually get you started on handling this boss a little better. Okay, so we're going to talk about how to handle a narcissistic boss. Let's do it. All right. So, do you ever notice how often people make jokes about like bad bosses? And I mean, God, there's even movies about it, about evil, selfish bosses with ugly agendas. Yeah. Even Jennifer Aniston has starred at least two movies about horrible bosses, right? Isn't so do you think that horrible bosses are Hollywood's fault, or is Hollywood just commenting on, you know, what really is out there? Do you think bosses get a bad rap, or do you think there's something to the idea of bosses being jerks? Obviously, there's something to that idea, right? Okay. Anyway, and the fact is, there are cases in which a boss is a narcissist, and whether they are a low-level supervisor or a CEO, a narcissistic boss is going to be a constant source of conflict in the workplace, and that's obviously your first clue. Okay. So make sure you check out that video that I did the other day called Top 10 Signs of Gaslighting, because that's going to help you out here a little bit with your covert narcissist as well. Anyway, so apparently narcissists are often, as we all know, in leadership positions because they present a strong and often well-honed image to many people in their lives. Narcissists like to be in control, so they're pretty good at it sometimes. In general, because they're always seeking validation, they're looking for positions that help them feel good about themselves. And of course, being someone's boss definitely gives them that feeling of power. Being in charge of stuff gives them that feeling of power. So intelligent narcissists, and sometimes not intelligent narcissists, will go for jobs like this, right? They will go for management positions or being the boss of stuff, right? Of course, subconsciously, a narcissist feels incredibly inferior. So they feel helpless. They feel like they're just not good enough. And what's funny about that is that's exactly kind of how they make their victims feel, isn't it? Interesting, right? Projection much? Okay, so all of the things that they, as I just said, project onto their various sources of narcissistic supply. That's what they're feeling on the inside. And that's why narcissists need people. They need supply to keep reminding them how superior they are, because narcissism, their toxic levels of narcissism, cause them to really require that every second reassurance from the world around them, which is why they use all of their subordinates at work as their supply, or part of their supply. Okay, so because narcissism does this, they don't even realize that there's any issue with who they are. You see what I mean? It's anyway. So why is your boss a jerk? And what does it feel like to have a narcissistic jerk? What narcissistic boss? And what can you do about it? Well, since narcissists always need people to build them up, and since they need to feel better than everyone around them, a narcissist in a position of power obviously makes people miserable sometimes. Since they always require all of this, it's because, look, as people, as our very human nature recoils when someone treats us like an inferior life form, and historically we can imagine what people must have felt. If you think about how some people over the course of history have been treated as subhuman, and that's exactly how narcissists see people outside of himself. So a narcissist sees you as less than him or her. Okay, so how do you deal with someone like that at work? And can you ever successfully work with a narcissist? That's the big question. So let's talk about it. How do you work successfully with a narcissistic controlling boss? Well, controlling bosses, whether they're narcissists or not, can really slow you down, obviously, and undermine your confidence, to say the very least. Maybe your supervisor is second guessing your decisions and expects you to be available 24/7, or, you know, well, to be honest with you, if this person's a toxic narcissist, it's going to be a lot deeper than you realize for the issues they're having here. So, overbearing management styles are all too common and obviously counterproductive, as you probably already know. Most employees will tell you that they've been micromanaged at some point in their careers, and studies show that workers, perform worse when they feel as though they're being watched, right? That's why the working at home thing works so well sometimes, in my opinion, because if your boss is hovering over your shoulder, it's exhausting. And so, you need to get to, if you have a controlling boss, a narcissist who is controlling your every move, your every move at work, or who is trying to manipulate you, here are some ways that you can gain some freedom and still kind of get through it. Okay, so what can you do alone? What can you do on your own? All right, well, you've got to start by covering your own ass a little bit, if I'm being honest with you, because quite honestly, as we all know, you don't know when a narcissist will actually turn on you. So here are some ideas for that for you. Okay, first of all, you have to be honest with yourself. Okay, evaluate your performance. Start out by investigating whether or not you really could be contributing to the situation. I mean, are you showing up on time and following through with your responsibilities? Close supervision in some cases might be a rational response when someone tends to be less than reliable. So make sure that before you're like, hey boss, you're a narcissist, you think to yourself, am I being real with myself, or am I just feeling upset because I was called out on something that was really an issue? It's important to be honest with yourself, because I am all about feeling good and thinking positive and everything else, but the fact of the matter is that you have to be real with yourself, and if you're slacking off, you have to own it and move forward. Okay? All right, number 2, take action. Be proactive. Once you've assured yourself that in fact you are on top of your work, you can turn your attention on how can you cope with your boss's management style. Okay? Identify the anxiety triggers, that the things that make the boss go, "Urgh!" and figure out your plan in advance. What are you going to do? How are you going to deal with them? Have a plan in place. That always helps with any narcissist if you are prepared. Okay. Number 3, team up. Get with some colleagues. Chances are they're experiencing the same issues you are. So why not coordinate your efforts with other people in your office or at your company to show your boss that they can trust you to pull together, even while they're traveling or whatever. And this works with a narcissist because they again feel like they're in control. If you all kind of work together to support him or her in a way that works for them. Okay. Number 4, you're already doing this one. Keep a record of what you're really doing at work. Document everything, all of your activities, logging your accomplishments, creates a paper trail, emails, copy bigger bosses on the emails, copy other coworkers, whatever. Lot, putting all this together is going to be really good for you. Okay, it's going to cover your butt if you need to. So having your facts straight is going to help you prove your worth if you ever need to, and keep your head clear and peace of mind. Okay. Number 5, get some help. If it's really bad, seek intervention. You might need to discuss the issue with your human resources department, or if senior management asks for feedback, someone above your manager, let them know the good qualities of this person in addition to any negative qualities, that things that might help them do a better job, so to speak. I think maybe you could say, well, I think manager B would be most effective if he or she would change the way he is counseling employees. Maybe he needs to do this in writing instead, or something like that, and explain why. But your HR department or employee assistance program, if you are employed by a larger company, could also offer you really good advice. That's something that a lot of people forget, is that a lot of people who are employed have an EAP in place, an employee assistance program, and a lot of times you can call anonymously ish, with guaranteed anonymity. I can't even say that word today, but you know what I'm saying. You can call these places and you can talk to someone about the issue, and you can do it completely safely. Quite honestly, if that doesn't work for you, why not get a life coach? Just saying. It's a thought. Okay. Number 6. Um, you know, Beware the flying monkeys at work, right? All right. So this is actually kind of a new section here. So a narcissist at work has a whole agenda, and you may not even realize what it is. It's something to watch out for. Flying monkey syndrome. This is what happens when, with many narcissists, and it's especially prominent when the narcissist is your boss, obviously. Okay, because a flying monkey, a boss will. Anyway, let's talk about it. So I love a suggestion from Bill Eddy. It's all about how to deal with a narcissistic boss, and I think it's solid advice. So I'm going to share that with you right now. Okay, try to connect with empathy, attention, and/or respect. EAR, empathy, attention, and respect. Obviously this is the opposite of what you feel like doing, but really, it really works. So you want to look interested when your narcissistic boss is talking to you, okay? And, butter him or her up with the occasional compliment, ask a question such as advice on something, sharing an interesting tidbit of information, or, thanks for some positive, hey, thanks so much for telling me I did a good job on this, that, or the other thing. Just be careful not to lie about a compliment or put down your own skills during the conversation, because you have to be matter of fact and let the focus be on the boss for the majority of the time, at least for a few minutes of the conversation. Don't get defensive if they're not commenting about you. Resisting your own defensiveness in this case, yeah, it's going to be hard. It's going to take a lot of strength, but you can do it, especially if you remind yourself that it's not about me before you have a talk. All right, it's the narcissistic boss's insecurities and lack of effective social skills. All right, now let's talk about other steps that you can take with your narcissistic boss. Okay, so number 1, always keep them posted. Provide updates, lots of status reports, keep your boss informed, in the loop at all times without him or her having to ask you. If you can assure them that things are running smoothly, it's going to help a lot. Remember that narcissists are prone to narcissistic injury, so pay plenty of attention to him or her by keeping him or her posted on everything, unless they specifically say, I don't need to hear about that anymore. Just act like they need to know everything, even if they don't. And they'll like that. They love those sorts of little bits of, reminders that they're the boss. You see what I mean? All right, number 2. Do something nice for your boss's career so you can create more opportunity. So if a narcissistic boss is interfering with your work because they don't have enough stuff on their own plate, well, maybe you could, I don't know, depending on the type of boss, you could give them like public speaking opportunities or sales leads or whatever. Keep, giving them more stuff that makes them look good and helps you have a little free space from them. Helping your boss shine is obviously a really smart way to advance your career in any case, whether they're narcissistic or not. Okay, something to consider. All right. So, number three, understand who you are in relation to your job. Okay, so clarify your role. Listen to your boss and observe his or her behavior, and this way you can understand the boss's preference and anticipate their needs. Narcissists love to have their needs anticipated, as do most people, if we're being honest. Okay, maybe your boss likes to book their own travel arrangements. So, in that case, obviously, make sure that they have the opportunity to do that. Maybe they care more about employees following instructions than taking initiative, and in which case, you know what to do. You know, you have to focus on showing the boss the side of you that he or she most would prefer to see. Okay. So, number four, don't be shy. Even when you're dealing with a narcissist, if you ask for feedback in a proper manner at work, sometimes they'll tell you more than they even know. So, find out what your boss is thinking. Ask questions about what results they want from you and how you're measuring up, because quite honestly, in some cases, narcissists will be among the most honest people in the world, especially when it comes to criticizing you excessively, right? Have you ever met a 2-year old? You know how 2-year olds are so honest. Like if they don't like the way something tastes, they'll be like, "This is yucky." Well, narcissists kind of act like that sometimes, in their own way. So, if you are doing something that your boss doesn't like or that annoys him or her, you can bet if you ask for feedback, they're going to comment in that way. So pinpoint strengths you can build on when you do have those discussions, and changes that be aware of changes they want to see. If these changes are things that are simple, minor things you can fix, my gosh, just fix them. And if they're things that are like you intrinsically that the narcissist doesn't like, you might want to start polishing your resume. You know what I'm saying? All right, number five, keep emotion out of it. Okay, don't take any of it personally, my friend, because, sorry for the little tap there, because the fact is, if there are conflicts that you want to confront in your life, you have to be direct and you have to be gentle. So speak in terms of finding solutions rather than criticizing someone's personality or work habits. So, you know, if you are in a situation where you have to talk to your boss about a problem that you're having, rather than coming to them and, "Oh, I'm so upset about this horrible thing." Okay, here's a better way. Go to your boss and say, "Listen, I need your advice. All right. This is a horrible thing that I'm dealing with, and I know that you are so smart about these things, and you would be the best person to ask. How should I handle this?" See, that's a lot better than going to your boss and saying, "My cube mate won't stop farting," or whatever. You know what I'm saying? You have to go to you have to go to them and let them know that if you have to, if there's any kind of conflict, whether it's a conflict with them or a conflict with someone else, go to them and say, "I need your advice, I need your help, you're so knowledgeable about these things, how can you help me?" If it's a conflict with your boss, in some ways you can creatively make it seem like not their fault. In some ways you can creatively say something like, "I know that it frustrates you when I turn in my report on Fridays at 2 as you requested, but could you please let me know what would be the best time for you do you need to receive it by 1 o'clock? Would you rather have it on Wednesday or whatever?" You know what I'm saying? Just go to them in such a way as, "I want to make you happy. You're the expert at this stuff, so tell me what you need from me." That's one way to deal with it. All right. Okay, moving right along. Oh, and let's just talk about that emotion factor really quickly. Okay. So the thing about emotion is that when you're dealing with a narcissist, you can bet that that person will absolutely 100% without a doubt be very happy to criticize you anytime they have a chance to. Okay. So when that happens, you're stuck a little bit. So when you're stuck, what you have to do is you have to not allow those emotions to affect you, because the fact is, if you know that it's not you, if you know that it couldn't, even if it were you and you've done everything you can do to change it, you either need to start looking for another job or you have to learn how to control that stuff. Leave work at work, bring home, or keep home at home. Personally, I think if you're in a situation with a narcissistic boss and they're making your life miserable, and if these things don't work for you, is it really worth it? Is it really worth it? You have to ask yourself. And if it's not really worth it, put out your resume. Just do it. See what happens. Polish it up, throw it out there on the internet, see what comes your way. Sometimes there's a reason you feel the way you do. All right. All right. Moving right along. Number 6. Give a narcissistic boss the credit he or she thinks they deserve. What do I mean? Well, give praise for progress. Congratulate the boss if you're making headway as a group or as an individual. Anytime you succeed, you turn to your boss and you say, "Thank you for your support. It's because of you that I'm succeeding. You're the best boss ever," or whatever. Okay. Obviously, say it in a less sarcastic way than that. But reinforce any positive interactions that you have with your boss by saying, "Hey, I really appreciate your efforts." When you're allowed to take charge of a project, or you're allowed to take your own approach, thank you so much. I really enjoy working with you, and I really, you're really helping me contribute more to this company. You're excellent. Remember, a narcissist loves people who credit them for work they didn't have to do. Keep it in mind. All right, number 7, create a personal connection. So, respect and compassion are going to obviously enhance any working relationship. Obviously, a narcissist doesn't have any of those things, but they're good at pretending sometimes. So, remind yourself of what you like about your boss, and make sure you bring that up in casually in conversation, and make sure you keep it professional, especially if your boss is of the opposite sex, or if your boss is gay or lesbian and you're a man, the appropriate sex. So remind yourself of what you like about your boss. Talk to them about that on a professional level. Make time for small talk and sharing common interests. Okay, but keep it cool, because some bosses aren't going to want you to be blah 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 all day long. Okay, so you have to be aware of the boss that you're dealing with. Some narcissists are going to love to hear all the things. So one thing I would caution you against is, if you're dealing with a narcissistic boss, be very, very careful not to throw your fellow employees under the bus. Okay, because it's easy to do without realizing sometimes, because the boss will want you to gossip or something. And so, in under the guise of, "Oh, we're just good friends and you're telling me all the secret gossip," the truth is that they're your boss and they're manipulating you to share information about your fellow employees. So if you're throwing employees under the bus, just remember that karma comes back and smacks you. I mean, it just happens. Y'all know what I'm talking about. Okay. Anyway, remind yourself. A strong, basically, if you can create the illusion of a relationship with a narcissistic boss, of a friendship or whatever, that is uh, and you as someone who admires him or her and their awesomeness, a strong foundation in that way is going to make any disagreement in the future easier to handle with that person, and it would make them more likely to be open to hearing you. Okay, so being proactive in general and empathetic, as you already naturally are, is going to transform your relationship with a narcissistic, micromanaging jerk of a boss. All right. So, if you can learn to collaborate as a team with your fellow coworkers, or at least, with your boss, and maintain harmony, maintain peace around the office, your life is going to get a whole lot easier, my friend. If your boss is a narcissist, just understand his or her limitations and work within them in order to manage that situation. Okay. A few more tips before we go. Um, you know, Keep in mind that it's not your fault. Keep in mind that you are, in fact, the one in control of your own emotions. Your boss might be a total asshole to you, okay? But if that's the case, and you don't want to continue to deal with that, you have options, okay? Number one, you can choose to keep dealing with it and shut your mouth and deal with it. Okay. Number two, you can choose to go above their head to HR and say, "Hey, this person is causing me to be in a hostile work environment, and here's why. And you better show up with documentation." All right. Number three, you can put your resume out there, find a new job. Well, here's another one. Number four, just quit your job and sit at home and do nothing all the time. That's no good. Don't do that. Okay, so my thing is, if you're going to get a new job, try to hold on to your current job until you've found a new job, if that's possible for you. If it's not possible for you, then make sure you have a backup plan. You don't want to put yourself in a position to be stuck. Okay? So, what do you think? Have you ever had a narcissistic boss? What kind of advice would you offer your fellow survivor in that situation? And, if you haven't had a narcissistic boss, but you've had a narcissistic spouse, or mother or father or sibling or friend, your thoughts are valid here too. So I'd love to know what you think. How would you deal with somebody in this situation who, you know, if you were working for a narcissist, how would that feel and how would you deal with it? Okay. Share your comments down below. If you enjoyed this video, if you want to keep working toward recovering from narcissistic abuse and beyond, beginning to take your life to the next level, please subscribe to my channel. I post every day, sometimes twice or three times a day if I'm really feeling crazy. But I'm here at least twice a day, in the morning for my vlog and in the afternoon for this video, which is where I get a little more formal, but not that much because I'm pretty informal, right? Obviously. All right, I'm closing up. You guys have a wonderful day. I will see you soon for another video. All right, I'll be here tomorrow morning for affirmations and a vlog. Have a great week. Thanks for letting me be a part of your life and a part of your recovery. I'll see you soon.